The Hisense U8K marks the brand's top-tier ULED TV on the market and sits above the U7K, which I also recently reviewed. The U7K was an incredible TV. With its large dimming zones and great gaming features, the TV has nudged ever closer to the US counterpart, and if anything, is one of the best displays you can buy for its price range. The Hisense U8K, also known as the U8K AU in some regions, does everything the U7K can do, but slightly better. It comes with Hisense's Mini LED Pro Tech, which means there's more local dimming zones, much brighter LEDs, and deeper and richer black levels. It also packs a fairly impressive subwoofer and speaker system. When it comes to gaming, it also boasts 144Hz support, but comes with AMD FreeSync Premium, which also has a few benefits over the standard FreeSync found in the U7K. The Hisense U8K is the TV for those who don't mind spending a little bit more to get better specs across the board. How much more, you ask? Well, the U8K comes in 55, 65 and 75 inch models. It costs 21,999 Rand for the 55 inch, 29,999 Rand for the 65 inch, and 39,999 Rand for the 75 inch model. But just how great are these specs, and what's the big difference between the U7K and the U8K? Well, that's why I'm here. In this review, I'll be diving into the Hisense U8K and its features, and see exactly where the TV shines and where it might fall flat. Hisense has kept the same stand design as last year's U8H TV. This means the flat stand, which sort of looks like an LG OLED stand, relies on a bottom weight to stay planted and is secured with a lot more screws than other TVs. Installation is fairly simple. I attached the plastic plate to the back, used 4 screws to tighten it in place, and then clipped on the bottom metal weight. The weight is then screwed on using 6 screws. The back plastic plate also has a detachable cover where you can tuck cables behind and clip back on the plastic to hide them away. The U8K is quite a hefty TV. Not only does it weigh 30 kilograms, but the stand is also not your conventional method either. If anything, the stand is very anti-soundbar due to its extended front area. The area juts out of the front of the TV by 11 centimeters. The stand is 40 centimeters wide and 39 centimeters deep. The TV should fit on most stands. It also sits quite low with only a 5 centimeter gap between the bottom of the TV and the stand. If you use a soundbar, the U8K is going to give you a hard time. Not only will you have to balance the speaker on the stand itself, but most soundbars will end up blocking the IR scanner due to the low gap between the stand and the display. Be sure to know how much space you have to work with and how thick your soundbar is beforehand. When it comes to the general TV design of the Hisense U8K, it definitely is a lot thicker and heavier than the U7K. The bottom of the TV features this premium fabric coating with the Hisense logo stuck on the left hand side. On the back you will find the subwoofer vents, and at the top there's an air vent which not only helps send sound out but also helps with cooling. On the left hand side you'll find all the ports. This includes 4 HDMI ports, 2 of which are HDMI 2.1 rated at 4K 144Hz. There are also 2 antenna ports, AV in, a headphone jack and 1 USB Type-A 3.1 port. Close to those ports, facing directly back, you'll also find an Ethernet port, another USB Type-A 3.0 port, and an optical audio port. Right on the other end, there's the power port, which uses a 3-prong kettle plug. This is due to the TV's high energy use thanks to the Mini LED Pro Tech. This brightness doesn't come without a cost, of course. The Hisense U8K is a nice looking TV, but I can't help but feel as if the stand is a miss for me. The center design doesn't work and the lower form factor makes it difficult if you use a soundbar. The cable management area also restricts you from placing the TV with a power outlet in the middle of your stand. If you're not equipped for this, you might have issues running cables and might need some extra extension cables to neaten things up. Or you can just ignore the cable management section and leave your cables dangling out the back. The Hisense U8K setup experience doesn't differ from other models on the market. It runs VIDA U7. It is hard to notice major differences between U6 and U7, but Hisense has moved the navigation bar where your account and settings are found from the top of the TV to the left hand side of your home screen. When you boot the TV up for the first time, you can sign into your VIDA account or completely ignore it all. The apps are all pre-installed, which means you don't need a VIDA account to download any of them. You'll just need to sign into your Disney+, Apple TV or Netflix apps. I wasted no time and jumped right into the settings to calibrate the unit. You'll definitely want to tweak some of the settings on the U8K to get more out of it. For example, the blue and overly cool look on the panel can be reduced by enabling the warm 2 color. I recommend this above everything else. Many LEDs tend to have this blue tinge to them due to the text lighting implementation. If you want a more natural, warmer look, I suggest go for warm 2. Here are the calibration settings for the U8K. They don't differ much from the U7K. I also calibrated the gaming settings too. Once again, I reduced the cool look by enabling warm 2 and upped the vibrancy. Technically speaking, the Hisense U8K comes with a VA panel. This is the first TV I have reviewed from the brand which includes a VA panel, and I have to say it is nice to see. While IPS has some advantages, VA highly complements mini LEDs a lot more than IPS. It results in less blooming during local dimming, better black uniformity, and a much better contrast ratio. Then again, VA comes with some problems too, such as worse viewing angles, but this Hisense U8K has some decent viewing angles even with a VA panel. Of course, there's definitely a sweet spot you'll want to stick to for the best viewing experience, but even slightly to the side, the image was pretty clear. The Hisense U8K also has over 1,000 dimming zones on the 65-inch, 1,008 to be exact, and they go a long way to improve the general image quality on the TV. So much so that blooming is the best I have seen from Hisense to date, and the black levels are impressive. In a decently lit room, I had to really look hard for blooming around objects. Like really hard. The panel does an excellent job handling bloom and the black levels are incredibly deep. When I was sitting in the sweet spot in a bright room, blooming was hardly noticeable. Hisense has definitely focused on improving the tech here and it really shows. Sure, sitting to the side of the TV is a bit of a different story. Blooming is slightly more noticeable, but again, a day and night difference compared to the U7K. Blooming will be a bit more noticeable if there are bright objects above dark areas. In this clip, you'll see how my HUD in Dying Light 2 has a globe around it due to the environment in the background. But again, this is minimal bloom compared to other LED TVs on the market. I did notice some nasty grey uniformity issues on the panel, sort of like a dirty screen effect with a vignette around the sides. These issues were more noticeable on the corners of the display. They gave off a sort of yellow stained look around the edges, and the edges of the TV especially looked a bit dim. There were also times where the whites looked a bit brown. Again, these are some of the drawbacks of a VA panel. You won't notice any of these issues during daily TV watching and gaming though, but if you go look for them, you'll definitely see them. When it comes to the brightness, the TV is impressive. Like, this TV is crazy bright. I measured 700 nits in a 100% window. Of course, brightness is relative to the scene you're looking at, but I have to say the TV performs very well across all bright content. I especially enjoyed how bright specular highlights got in HDR content. Things like the lightsaber in Star Wars Jedi Survivor lit up the screen. Fires in Lies of P looked fantastic. All the little bright details looked incredible. The U8K truly showcases the magic of mini LED tech in bright content. On the topic of how great games looked, the Hisense U8K performed as expected and is pretty much in line with the U7K. That is to say, it too has issues with 4K 144Hz on Nvidia GPUs. VRR is also a bit buggy. When enabled, it locked local dimming to high and I wasn't able to change it. I had the same issue with the U7K, likely just a software issue that will be fixed in an upcoming update. But gaming worked fairly well and the TV does a great job across PC and consoles. More PC thanks to its 4K 144Hz support. I measured 40 milliseconds of input lag on 4K 60Hz content and a ridiculously low 5 milliseconds on 4K 120Hz content. The game menu gave me a quick glance at what gaming settings were enabled. I could also enable dark detail for competitive games, check the frame rate, and even whether or not HDR was working properly. I strongly believe all TVs need a game menu like this. It goes a long way to give you control over what is happening. But generally speaking, gaming performed very well and everything was enhanced by the panel's incredible brightness and rich black levels. The same goes for general TV watching. Everything I threw at the TV looked great, even in a bright room. The TV is a bit more reflective than the U7K and doesn't handle the bright room as well, but the reflections are bearable. It also helps that the TV is so bright that even a back-facing window doesn't stand a chance to disrupt the image. For those wondering, the 65-inch Hisense U8K peaked at 200 watts of energy use. At the moment, there's quite a lot of controversy surrounding mini LED TVs and their energy usage, simply because these TVs get so much brighter than conventional LEDs. But 200 watts isn't bad. It is higher than most LED TVs for sure. However, you can always enable some energy saving features if you're worried about the bill or you're running the TV on an inverter during load shedding. As for the built-in speakers, the Hisense U8K comes with a feature-packed speaker setup which actually performed quite well. The Hisense PL1 is a versatile short-throw projector that targets... I would say that if you have a standard 2.1 soundbar with no backfiring speakers, this TV speaker system might give it a run for its money. However, for anything past the budget soundbar, but I'm talking like really budget, you'll definitely want to stick to using a home theater system instead. Hisense already surprised me with the U7K. I wasn't expecting the brand to bring so much value to the range as it did. The panel is great, the gaming features are all there, and the parity between the US version is almost non-existent. But the U8K has taken things a step further. This is a very good TV. This is a very capable TV too, and I would honestly look at this as my daily driver. The VA panel is a breath of fresh air and it highly complements the mini LED tech. It has bloom, don't get me wrong, but the TV does a great job dumbing it down. The TV continued to impress me when it was fully calibrated and I was watching HDR content or playing games with well-implemented HDR specular highlights. There were so many moments of wow here thanks to how bright this TV can get. It changes everything. Considering the asking price of this Hisense U8K, you'll find it difficult to find a similar TV on the market from a competitor brand that offers the same mini LED experience, the same great panel and value. So those are my thoughts on the Hisense U8K. I've also just recently reviewed the Hisense U6K and U7K, so be sure to check out those reviews. I'll leave a link down below. The U7K is especially important because it aligns itself with the U8K with much of its functionality. I go into detail in that video how some of the new settings work on the TV, including the gradient setting, so be sure to check that out. Also, let me know if you have any questions down below, and please do consider liking and subscribing for more future content tailored to South African TVs. Also visit www.glitch.online for more gaming tech news and reviews. Until next time, farewell.